What I recommend to you today is a movie starring my beloved Black Widow, Marriage Story. The precursor to the Oscar, the Golden Globe Award had published the list of nominations of 2019. The nominations included Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, Best Actor, Best Actress. The movie received 6 nominations and attracted the critics' attention. Finally, Laura Dern, with Marriage Story, won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Today, let's talk about this movie. Charlie and Nicole are a long-term couple. At the beginning of the film, they are narrators, talking about what they admire most about each other. Charlie is a talented drama director. He loves his works, his son. He is sensible and independent. In his wife's eyes, he is always calm and fearless. Nicole is a beautiful and kind-hearted actress. She treats people with kindness. She gets along well with her son and her husband. The opening part of the movie plus the narration makes you think you're watching a warm family video. The couple's appreciation of each other is as detailed as possible. However, the plot is not revealed until the camera turns. The story full of happiness just then actually is a task assigned to them by a marriage counselor. In fact, their marriage has come to an end. They write down each other's strengths just for the sake of the camera. However, the breakup is not easy as they thought. The plot of the film revolves around the divorce war. At first, both sides agree to adopt the most moderate divorce agreement, discussing the plan of raising their son between the two. There is not much bad blood between them. However, Nicole suddenly realizes that she has sacrificed too much in this marriage and her conceited husband doesn't understand her at all, so she takes the initiative in hiring a big lawyer and drags the divorce into court. The court scene in the film is also one of the most acclaimed aspects of the whole film. To maximize the interests of their clients, lawyers on both sides do their best. The details of their marriage add fuel into the flame. For example, Charlie accuses Nicole of always starring in high-grossing films, drinking and taking drugs. If he hasn't supported her career, Nicole wouldn't have been the main character of a TV series. She has no reason to ask for an equal share of the property. She is not qualified to take their son to Los Angeles to settle down. Nicole refutes that Charlie has an affair and spends too much time at work. He has no time to take care of their son. He has no reason to take their son to live with him in New York. The most meaningful part of the play is the lawyers have different gender perspectives. The lawsuit itself is not only a divorce dispute but also a gender war. The female lawyer advocates for Nicole, and the male lawyer advocates for Charlie. Everyone is attacking each other's shortcomings, and the two sides are deadlocked for the time being. Charlie and Nicole in the court are far separated by lawyers, becoming silent. Every time their lawyers break each other's black information, they all show an embarrassed look. In the end, because both sides hold their own views, the judge decides to let the assessor objectively determine the custody of the child. That is when the divorce litigation war becomes intense, entering the embarrassing situation that neither of them is able to turn back. The two who have planned to break up peacefully also lose their decent appearance. Every time they meet in private and want to sit down and talk it through, as a result, with just a few words, the situation gets out of control and they begin to verbally attack each other. This quarrel between Charlie and Nicole is another famous scene of the film. The inconsistency between the two characters escalates gradually. Both sides first accuse each other of describing each other as a bad guy. Then they start to dig up old things about raising their son. Then they accuse each other of being a bad parent. After that, the attack rises to humiliation. They bring up all things, from personal bad habits to their sex life, even spitting out the vicious curse, "I wish for you to die every day." Finally, the divorce war ends in a flask. The two sides sign a divorce paper. Charlie gives up his request to raise his son in New York. Nicole is no more asking for more property. As a lawyer in the film says, each of them just wants more than the other. As a result, more money and energy are wasted, but the result is still the same. In terms of plot, the film tells the sacrifice and compromise of women in marriage. Nicole is born in Los Angeles. In the early years, she becomes popular in Hollywood with a high-grossing film. When she meets Charlie, they fall in love. After that, she thinks she has finally found her way in life, so she voluntarily gives up her acting career in Los Angeles. After Charlie settles in New York, marries and has a son, he becomes a drama director. At work, Nicole is an actress under the direction of director Charlie. Back home, she is a wife who obeys the orders of husband Charlie. Nicole has been brainwashing herself for a long time. She thinks being a good wife and mother is enough until she gets a job in Los Angeles without the support of her husband. When Charlie makes fun that TV shows are lower and dramas, it dawns on Nicole. Over the years, she has long disappeared from her husband's conceit and selfishness. For this fierce divorce war, the audience can only watch and learn. Involuntarily, we all put ourselves in their positions to justify. But in fact, judging who is right and who is wrong is not the focus of the film. If you've been obsessed with finding out who is right or wrong in the film, in the end, will you come up with anything? In the end, you will find that you have spent a lot of energy on useless work. In the plot of this movie, if Charlie is absent from his son's growth because of his work, well, the way of rewarding everything for his son is also controversial. Nicole has suffered too much. The pressure brought by gender bias is too much. Nicole is a true hero in this battle. Also because of the lawsuit, Charlie becomes isolated and helpless. If Charlie is a cheating scumbag, the relationship between Nicole and the other man during the lawsuit is indescribable. she should also be blamed. So in my opinion, Marriage Story should not be taken lightly. The label of feminist film or marriage persuasion is irrational. In fact, the director intends to make the mistakes of Charlie and Nicole even, because the protagonist of this film is not Charlie and Nicole, but the marriage itself. What the film explores is actually why a seemingly perfect marriage eventually falls to such an unbearable level. And the answer to this question is hidden in the 10 minutes Charlie and Nicole quarrel in the film, when Nicole accuses Charlie, saying she has lost her personality in marriage and become a brainwashed wife. Charlie overturns her story, scolding her for using herself as a tool to change her life from the beginning. He doesn't want to get married so early. This is the fundamental reason why the marriage between them cannot be maintained. They takes a different stand on marriage from the beginning. Before becoming us, neither of them figures out how to be me. They just hastily label themselves as a wife and a husband. They think marriage is the inevitable outcome of love. In this divorce war, the film continues to capture the spatial distance between the two with ingenious lenses. To shape their psychological distance, whether at home or in court, whether it is a calm conversation or a fierce quarrel, there is always a certain distance between the two. The most moving scene in the film is also related to distance. One night, Nicole's electric door can't be closed. Charlie takes his son to her house to check on it. During this period, Nicole trims Charlie's hair like before. Then they works together to repair the door. It implies the final outcome of the marriage. They do love the right person. This relationship does not decline with the divorce paper, but they regret that they get married at the wrong time. This marriage can't bear the weight of love. In my opinion, this is the most prominent and profound part of the marriage story. It's not about the ugliness of marriage, but through the struggle of both sides, the movie shows us the multifaceted and complex nature of marriage. In most marriages, there is no absolutely right or wrong. We can only put right and wrong aside. You can see the abstract concept of marriage from this movie. It is a movie about love, getting along with each other and life after marriage. It is worth it to feel and reflect on yourself.